I'm absolutely stuck on this. I can barely name a YouTuber that didn't have like great financial success that didn't buy real estate for a little while before they back out and realize they don't like it. Have you bought your real estate yet? Have you made that financial mistake? You're going to get into commercial real estate?
Commercial? Fuck that.
I don't know. I'm
man.
just saying something. You're renting places out. You're going to buy a gas station like Quibblecop?
Oh my God. Oh, I don't know how he did that. I don't even know the process. There's like, everyone seems to be doing it, and it's very hush hush because no one wants to be known as a landlord. You know, it's like, that's a bad label to have. But I'm moving from here. I've been working on a house for a while. I'm renovating it currently, and it's actually moving along finally. So when I move from there, I get to make the choice of either sell this place, depending on how well I'm doing in like 5-6 months, or rent it if I'm doing good enough to just maintain having 2 houses. So I can be like scumbag landlord. It'd be great.
You'll be a great landlord.
Landlords are not inherently bad.
I will be.
Can I I've thought a lot about this landlord thing.
Okay.
And when's the last time you had a landlord, Woody?
1998 or something like that.
So that's going to shift your thoughts on this, I think.
I've
had issues with mine. It's this big corporation, and that's worse than a person. I'd sue a person.
I like the inverse, but I'm listening.
If there was some guy across town who was doing this shit to me and ignoring my requests, I'd sue him. We'd be in small claims court, then we'd be in civil court. I'd fuck him up. I'd make his life annoying. But it's this big corporation. So when you're like, hey, the water leak in my yard, I still have water, but just so you know, I won't be paying for any of the water that leaks out of this house, and the yard is going to be ruined. They allowed that to happen for almost 8 months. There was a crater in my yard, a koi pond essentially that looked like a bomb had fallen there and filled up with water for 8 months. It didn't smell, thank God, but it was just an eyesore. They didn't care because that much water leaking wasn't a big deal to them because they're a giant corporation, and the process of getting your claims escalated. There's no one who actually cares. It's all hourly paid employees. It's a nightmare. And then when my fucking AC went out a few years ago, again, huge nightmare. I was like, it's 80 degrees in the house, and they're like 88's an emergency. And I was like, oh, you know what?
Take it back.
I hung up on that guy and called back and told him it was 88.
So
and if they'd asked for a picture, I had the blow dryer ready. Like
I have 2 experiences. One, I rented this in an apartment complex. It was a big company like yours. I don't even know how many super big. And behind the washing machine, for clothes, it started to leak, like the hose went bad or something. And my apartment didn't have a ton of damage, but the apartment under mine, tremendous, right? The light fixtures were like buckets just holding water. The floors were ruined. The carpets needed to be replaced. Their personal belongings were damaged. It was just a stream of water that caused all this trouble while neither of us were home. So I returned to a slightly wet laundry area, and he returned to a ruined apartment. Cool. The people that needed to fix it weren't mad at me. They're hourly employees. They just do this every day. There was nothing personal about it. There were no problems. From my perspective, they replaced the hose. They toweled up the thing, and that was it. Like, it ended. I didn't have any problems. They didn't try to get my security deposit back or any of that nonsense. They're a giant company who didn't care. On the other hand, I rented a house from a dude. That dude lost his job. The house had a hole in the roof such that you could stick your arm to your shoulder outside that hole in the roof. You could see outside through the hole in the roof, and the water would come through this hole. It would drip down the walls, and it would soak Jackie and I's pillows like they were sponges. And we wake up in the morning with these pillows that weighed like 27 pounds.
That's insane.
And it was awful. And there was something wrong with the water, and it was well water, and there was a pump, and the pump pumped so slowly. Like, to fill the washer tub for clothing, 7 hours. Like, it was outrageously slow. When I showered, I'd make a cup with my hand and fill it from the shower head, then splash it on my hair.
It's the well. They've got a bad well.
This guy is giving me all of his sob story. I'm like, hey, I got these problems that need to be fixed. And he's like, I got problems too. I lost my job. He could have knocked me over with a feather when I learned I lost my job. So we wouldn't be doing any repairs to the rental place, but I need you to float my family and continue to pay your rent on time.
His insurance should be handling this.
Yeah.
they were making some assumptions about the fact, the idea that him being insured, he just didn't have money to cover any of the repairs because he was just a dude who didn't have the cash to actually be a landlord. And it was a terrible experience for us because of it.
I can't imagine. That sounds super shitty. The real problem is you need somebody you can go get and make do what's right. And it's hard to get that done in either scenario, I suppose, at times. But I still think the real thing, but when I see people on Reddit hating landlords, it's almost like they don't like the system. They don't like the way the scales have ended up for whatever reason. They're like, can you believe it? They just sit there and take my money. I'm the one working. I support a landlord. That's what I'm doing. And it's like, no. I mean, it's real frustrating to see.
If Taylor gets a wild hair and says, you know what? I need a third job. I'm really not busy enough. And he decides to save up his cash for this big down payment and find the right place and then, fix it up before the tenants come in, and I probably do some level of repairs between every tenant. Then he's done all the stuff that the renters didn't have to do. They were able to just waltz into the house that Taylor saved up for, that Taylor makes payments for, to do it. Like, these landlords aren't evil. That's just the way it works. If you don't want to be a renter, do what Taylor did.
Yeah. I mean, like, you're right that it's just like when I see the like anti-work style people doing it, it's like, oh, this is a child who doesn't know how the world works. Like, they heard someone else say landlords are bad and now they're parroting that. Like, there's a chasm of difference between like the list of like the 20 worst landlords in New York City, where like they're like, I haven't had water in months, and they're like, fuck you, like, I'll send you to jail. Like, there's a difference between that and like a property man. Like, I have a buddy who's like a property manager. He's one of those guys who was like, I'm going to buy real estate in like addition to my job. And within 1 year, he was like, oh yeah, I had to quit my job, like, and learn how to be a handyman because I spend all day doing handyman stuff at all these properties. Like, I thought it was going to be a little passive income, but it turns out it's not. If you're a billionaire, it's passive income because you have 1,000 layers of middle management between you and the labor. If you're a dude who's a property manager who has a couple properties, you're working on that shit all the time. You don't have the capital to be like, oh, there was another boiler issue. Cost is no issue. Send someone else out there and spend $1 million. Like, no, you're going to be in there trying to figure it out. Like, doing what you can.
If you have a dozen 3-bedroom homes, that's a lot of toilets. That's a lot of light bulbs. That's so many furnaces and air conditioners and doorknobs and locks and latches and ovens and microwaves. I know slightly what that's like. Dad's farm, those poultry houses. There's thousands of light bulbs. There's thousands of gears and knobs because each chicken gets one, right? So there's thousands of everything in duplicate. And the biggest part of his job has always been maintenance man, just walking around. Oh, look at that. If I don't tighten that, everything will burn down. Good thing I was here. Every day is that. Every day is catching something that was 3 days away from disaster.
Have you heard of like Love for Landlords subreddit?
No, I've never heard of it. Is it a joke?
This.
I'm actually the head mod.
It's a whole subreddit. They've got their own little terminology in there. Like, the landlords are known as land chads. They make memes about like fucking me when I increase the rent on a single mother of 4.
Yeah, I didn't know this was my position.
When you're a renter, who replaces the light bulbs?
I replace my own.
You could demand that they come fix your light bulbs, I guess, but like, I've always just changed my own.
Okay. I hope this doesn't get anyone fussed at, but when Chiz stayed in our guest house, by the way, he didn't pay rent or anything. He just worked with me and stuff. But when he moved out, to my surprise, all the light bulbs were burnt out. This was a time in our like evolution where like most people had compact fluorescent bulbs, but when they burnt out, you replace them with LEDs. Like, that's the stage we were in. And all these compact fluorescent bulbs had burnt out. And he was like, well, I was just sort of staying here. I'm not going to replace your light bulbs. And I was like, I'd never heard of that, but okay. Like I'm so we had like 8 bulbs to replace.
I'm
and
on
he
his
lived in the
side on this
dark.
He just slowly acclimated to a darker and
Yeah,
darker place.
And I noticed he was always in the dark over there, but I didn't like I didn't ever know.
He's got candles. He's walking around like Rip Van Winkle with one of those finger holder candles.
He would visit us. He would come over and he'd play Risk with like
light
Jackie and Colin and stuff, board games. But I didn't like knock on his door and intrude in his privacy.
Torch,
Like,
and a big old medieval torch.
I think he just stole your fucking light bulbs, man. He could have just
No,
he was
that's-
saving them up.
And I'm not replacing your copper piping either. Don't even start. Like,
The wiring
I'm
in the
on
walls
Chiz's
was
side.
gone when I got there.
You're
I'm on
Chiz's
Chiz's side on
Okay.
this because what you've done here is you've changed the topic. We were talking about landlords and tenants. If Chiz had been paying you a rate, then yeah, man, you're responsible for everything in there. You don't break anything either, because like you're. But he was a guest.
Okay.
He was a guest. If Taylor comes and stays with me for whatever reason, you know, maybe if Taylor and I said, hey, you know what? Let's do the Macho Men YouTube channel. You come stay with me for a month and we'll film working out here. I'll come stay with you for a month. We'll film there. And we made the Macho Men YouTube channel where we just do voices and we're not all that big.
yeah. That's a good ass channel. Take this part out, Zach.
And then you know, but he's in my guest room and he's in my gym and he's burning light bulbs and I got that. I don't think that he should be going and like getting new light bulbs. So that, in my opinion, is what you and Chiz had going on,
Right?
Because I believe Chiz was there to film a little project. It's all about perspective.
Yeah, I didn't look at it through that lens. I definitely see your point. Yeah, and there was never any ill will. It just struck me.
Of course not. Either way, I'm sure he was like, you know what, I acclimated to the darkness.
In the spirit of shitting on landlords, like I have had bad experiences with big companies. Like the place I lived before this, like 5 years ago in that apartment, I must have called a dozen times over the course of almost 2 years. Like, hey, I've got like an alarming amount of black mold in my back entryway. And like I stopped using my back entryway entirely. Like you could come from the parking lot behind my place that was fenced in, like up to my apartment, or you could walk around through Death Alley and come in through the front. And so I always like would walk through the, homeless alley just to get around. So I would take my chances with the homeless instead of the black mold. They just didn't care. They just couldn't care less. It's like, hey, like it's like I've done some Googling and the internet tells me like this is alarming. Like it shouldn't be a torso amount of mold in the top of like your
torso amount,
like from my neck down to my like waist and as wide, just a patch of black mold and like slowly spreading. Like I think I could smell it, and they never fixed it.
It's like the fucking Stranger Things underworld or whatever it is.
What's that called?
Upside down world.
The upside down.
The upside down, I think.
Yeah. I knew it was something had a cool way of saying it.